Welcome back to It Is One Podcast. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Bailey.
And Bailey, before we start today, I have a very important question to ask you.
What do you have for me today, Taylor?
If 2 plus 2 equals 4, then 3 plus 5 equals what?
8?
9.
I don't get your math, bud.
I just said 9.
As in no?
As in no,
But it is 8.
but it's 9.
I don't understand.
No, I'm saying the number.
The number is 8.
No, the number is 9. Who
5
says?
plus 3?
Yeah,
Math?
that's not how that works. Who says? A bunch of people came up with this concept on their own where they sat down and said 3 plus 5 equals 8. No, I want it to be 9.
I don't think what you want matters in this sense, bud.
I think it does. I think that what we need to do is take a step back and reevaluate what's real and what's not, because sometimes we get construed with our modern day. I'm really trying to make this sound good.
It was sounding good until you said I was trying to make it sound good.
I was trying to make it sound, yeah. Because when you take a step back into this, well, scratch that. Take a step back into the modern day society of where we're all focused on things and go back to our roots, where we understand that a bunch of people sat down and systematically decided that this is the system that they would live by, where 3 plus 5 equals 8. But why? Why can't 1 be 2 and 2 be 1? Why can't 1 fish plus 2 fish equal blue fish?
Because we're not Dr. Seuss?
Exactly, but who says? Dr. Seuss did 1 fish, 2 fish, blue fish, red fish.
Is that how it goes?
Bending reality as we know it. What's real and what's not.
That reminds me of today's movie.
Inception?
No.
That was a joke. For any of you who know us personally, you will know that we don't like that movie.
I mean, it's not that I dislike it, but that's not what we're talking about.
No, we're talking about an actual good movie today. A viewer recommended movie.
Yes, we're talking about 1997's Perfect Blue.
Which it was directed by, and I'm going to butcher all of this because this is an animated film, so it is in Japan. I really apologize for butchering the hell out of this, but Satoshi Kon is who directed it.
Yes.
And the screenplay was by Sadayuki Murai, Yoshikazu Taichi, and Rika Takahashi. I got that one. That was easy. Yeah. Rika Takahashi.
So those are the writers and directors and the novelists, right?
Yeah. The one that I was having trouble pronouncing, the Yoshikazu Taikuchi. That's who did the novel, which I can't pronounce that at all.
No,
There's hentai. Kanzen hentai.
I think it's a Buru Kazan hentai.
Buru Kazan hentai. Yeah.
But it's also the voice actresses for Mima, which is the main character, is Junko Aiwa.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. If I pronounced it incorrectly, I apologize. And then the other main character, in my opinion, Rumi, is Rika Matsumoto.
Yeah, I don't think there's really anybody else.
No, unless, we wanted to give Mima Mania, but I don't even know what his actual character's name is. I just know his username.
Yeah, I just know his username. I don't know what his actual name is. I apologize for butchering those. The film's great. We just can't pronounce anything.
Exactly. We're we are not multilingual.
Yeah, we will. We're not trying to be offensive, so we do apologize to that one. But this was a viewer recommended movie. And the reason that it was a viewer recommended movie, we will get into, because I don't want to spoil some things. We'll talk about that in the spoiler section. But Monty is who suggested this one. And thank you, Monty, because I never would have watched this on my own. But that's what I like about viewer recommendations.
I'm in the same boat with Taylor. Not something I would have watched on my own, but I'm super, super stoked I watched it.
Obviously, you can tell that we're going to give it good scores. So what would you give it on a scale from 1 to 5, with 1 being absolutely horrendous, 2.5, okay, being average, middle of the road, okay, and then 5 being phenomenal?
So this is a hard score for me to give because I'm torn between a 4 and a 4.5. But we talked about it a little bit beforehand, and I think I'm going to go with a 4.5 because I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I thought the characters were done really well. I thought the environment was really good. Even the animation style, to me, fit because it made it seem like it was real instead of a really cartoony animation style. This had, legitimate proportions, and the characters felt real instead of super stylized, which I liked a lot.
Which could have been with the plot elements and the story. It was very dark.
Oh, yes. If with the story, it being more stylized, it would have, in my opinion, taken away. So the fact that he did not a simple but not overly stylized animation style, I think it made the story more impactful because it felt based in reality.
And I'm right there with you, especially on the score. It's a 4.5 for me, too. Going into it, I did not think that I would be a fan of it. I read the back of the box summary of it and thought, yeah, that's going to be kind of cool. And I started watching it, and by the end of it, I was like, fuck, that was actually really good. Was not expecting it to go that way.
I'm right there with you as well. When I read the back of the box and watched the trailer and stuff for it, I was like, oh, I'm not going to like this movie. I'm going to be bored and want to turn it off. But I was immediately hooked, and the feeling of hooked stayed throughout. There was no point during this movie where I was bored or lost attention. I actually watched it twice in a 2-day period because of how good it was.
Yeah, no, it's a really good movie. It's one of those where if you're not an anime fan, I still think that you would enjoy this. If you're into that art house, pretentious bullshit, as Bailey so eloquently puts it, you would enjoy this.
Wholeheartedly agree.
So with that being said, do you want to give a spoiler-free summary of what this movie is about? Because I feel like we've talked about it and praised it, but nobody knows what the fuck this thing's about.
So a spoiler-free summary would be an idol or a pop star goes from being an idol or a pop star and decides they want to be an actress. And it's the mental transition that they go through from such a drastic image change. And it shows her perception of herself and her perception of the world around her and everyone else's perception of her and who she is now. And it's just an exploration of that.
You're getting a lot better at these.
I recognize that you're going to ask me to do it now, so I think about it beforehand.
I'm not even going to correct you. This is 2 in a row where I'm not going to correct you. I'm going to say, you know what? That was actually good. I'm proud of you. We're going to leave that in. I don't have to shit all over it.
I appreciate that. Thanks, bud.
Hey, you're welcome. But with that being said, do you want to roll the spoiler music?
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Now we can get into the spoilers for Perfect Blue.
I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because I was like, I don't know where to start with this movie because I feel like you could go in order with it and it would be fine, but you could also go out of order with it and it would also be fine. There's a lot to unpack in this movie.
Especially since it's I want to say it's an 81-minute runtime.
Yeah, it's an hour and 21 minutes, yeah.
So for it being such a short movie, this movie is jam-packed with symbolism and analogies and character progression and character development. And it's done so well.
So I think that we should start by talking about the characters, because I feel like if you understand the characters, it makes it a little bit easier to talk about the rest of it. So we'll start with the main character.
Okay, so Mima?
Yes.
So Mima is a pop star. She's part of a group called Chan with 2 other women. And she seems to have a bubbly personality. Everyone likes her. She seems to portray really happy and just bubbly.
She's the one out of the 3 that I think people are most obsessed with. That she's the one out of the 3 that stands out the most.
Absolutely, especially from the perspective that this film is shot in. And there are a lot of really iconic shots, even at the very beginning. And one shot shows Miami Mania holding her in his hand. And that shot, it's almost at the very beginning, and it very clearly points that she's the main character. She's who, Chan revolves around. Which it's shown later that that's not actually the case because it's quite successful once she leaves.
Right.
But from the perception that we're given at the beginning, she appears to be the star of the group.
In his mind, that is the group.
Exactly.
And I think that's why I like that shot so much, because that is what it is. In his mind, she is the only one. The other two don't really matter, but she's the one who is leading it. That's all her.
So I also think that her being in the palm of his hand like that shows ownership, because as a fan, he feels like he has ownership of her and he knows who she is.
Well, even with the lights, like the reason I like this shot is because, yeah, it looks like he's holding her in the palm of his hand, but it also has this gold aura or whatever around her, and you see the lights and everything. It very much kind of blurs everything and focuses on her, which was really nice.
Absolutely.
But it does show that ownership of, this is my trophy. Like, this is what I own. She's perfect. Look at it. Look at what I've won, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
For sure.
And then, who was her friend?
Rumi.
Rumi, yeah.
Which Rumi is her friend, but also one of her managers.
She has two managers, and the different personalities of the managers is almost like the angel and the devil on her shoulder, if that makes sense. Like, that's the way that I interpreted it, because when she's going through the transition of wanting to be an actress, leaving the glamour of life behind, he's full support of it. Like, yeah, let's do it. You know, it's kind of hard. And then the female manager is like, but she's pretty successful as is, and she's good. He's like, yeah, but this only comes like once in a lifetime. This is an opportunity like no other. She's good at it. The network loves her. Put her on the show. Who cares?
Absolutely.
And then we'll talk about a scene where it really shows the different sides of those two, which we'll get into that one. I think you know which one I'm talking about.
I may or may not. I'm not sure.
It's okay. When we get there, I'll point it out. But yeah, her managers have this dynamic of good and evil, I think, is what they represent. Maybe I'm misrepresenting that. Or
I hear what you're saying, and I kind of agree, but I also kind of disagree.
am I overreaching on it?
I don't think you're necessarily overreaching. I think it's good and evil is very, very, they're hard words, because when you label something as good or evil, you're putting it into a category. And I don't think that either of the managers should be categorized like that.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because Rumi, the female manager, is an ex-pop star. There's a line in it that says that.
Right.
So her pushing her to continue being a pop star makes sense, because that's what she was. That's what she thinks is a better art, a purer art, which I guess pure could be good, but I feel like it's not as black and white as that.
I think it's black and white. Okay, we'll talk about the scene. I think that it's black and white and really shows those two as good and evil based off of their reactions to the strip club rape scene. Because it make sure to focus on both of them while it's being recorded, and they have to do it a couple times or whatever.
Yeah, they have to get a couple different angles.
And when that finally happens, it pans over and you can see everybody behind the camera looking at it, and the director's like, okay, this is good, we got it, do that shot. And you see the male manager kind of sitting there smoking a cigarette, not caring. He's like, cool, whatever. And then Rumi gets up, has tears streaming down her face, and is visibly upset with what she's seeing.
So we're in the spoiler section. So I'm going to go ahead and spoil it.
Yeah, go ahead.
The reason Rumi's upset isn't because she cares about Mima. It has nothing to do with her caring about Mima. It's because she has dissociative identity disorder, and she sees Mima as herself. So seeing Mima do these dirty, not my opinion, but as her perception, dirty, evil things, it's tarnishing her reputation, and that hurts Rumi because she sees herself as Mima.
Which we don't know that until the end. In that moment, that is what I was translating that as.
That's fair.
But you are correct. It has literally nothing to do with it, but up until that moment, that's
the perception you're supposed to have.
Right, the perception of she's caring, she's good, she's the angelic one, trying to protect her, and then it turns out she's not. But yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I was trying to go in order with it. And then, what was the username?
It is Mima Mania. Mima Mania.
Hulkmania.
Oh yeah, Hulkamania.
Hulkamania's running wild. Oh yeah. He is something else.
He is a classic like person who spends too much time on the internet. He's an obsessive fan who spends all this time talking on random websites to what he thinks is Mimi or Mima.
Mima.
You got me fucked up and now I did it. But he's talking to a person online who he thinks is Mima. He's on the website Mima's Room, which to me is a precursor to social media. And it's almost as if the director was foreshadowing what reality would be for the general population 20 years in the future.
Well, because Rumi set that up, right?
Yeah, Rumi is the one controlling it. Rumi is the individual that Mima Mania is talking to.
Right. Which he thinks is the real Mima.
Yes. And she manipulates him into, doing crazy shit.
Because she's crazy.
Yeah.
Which it goes off the fucking rails at the end. And you really get to see the beautiful insanity of the movie. But, sorry, continue.
No, I mean, you're good. What were you going to say?
No, go ahead. Precursor to social media.
To me, this shows a beautiful, precursor to social media because Mima's Room is basically someone's Facebook profile where they post, their status updates. And it's being ran by someone else pretending to be her. And that happens all the time, like with catfishes and stuff. And everyone has their own audience now because most people have a Facebook with at least a few friends. So this movie really has an interesting way of foreshadowing what just everyday life would be. Because a lot of people talk about how they have online stalkers and people following their every move and just doing weird and crazy stuff. And this movie shows it. And I don't know how prominent that was back then of someone assuming someone else's identity online. I would imagine it wasn't very prominent because this was made in 97 where most folks don't have access to the internet.
The internet was a very, very new thing.
Exactly. So to me, him having the knowledge of, this is what it's probably going to turn into was super wild because everyone is kind of Mima now because we all have our own followings.
Well, and even with actual celebrity Facebooks and Twitters and Instagrams and stuff, most of the time it's not actually them. It's being ran by somebody else.
By a team or whatever. Even if it's at their discretion, it's still not them doing it.
Right. When you have this online conversation with the person, quote unquote, it's the same thing as having the conversation with Rumi thinking it's Mima.
Exactly.
And that's what I like about the movie is because you're correct in saying that it was a precursor for it because that shit happens every day. Whether that was the intention or not, that's what it is.
Yeah, even if it wasn't his intent, it's still prophetic.
Right, because we're living that now in 2023.
Exactly. But another issue that this movie deals with a lot is identity, which I feel like I'm taking it in a different order than you wanted to go in.
Hey man, that's okay. You take it in whatever order you want.
So,
I just might disassociate and become somebody else. We'll see.
Well, that would fit the theme of this movie.
Fuck yeah, it would.
One of the biggest thematic elements of this movie is who am I or who are you? So identity is shown really well because you can see her character in Double Bind, which is the movie within Perfect Blue, is super similar to her character outside of the movie. Because, for example, the scene where she's actually getting raped and she knocks him out and he's lying on the stage and then it cuts to the lights coming on.
And saying, good job, congratulations, we got the shot.
Yeah, and the body's gone.
Right.
Because it's a parallel between her real life and her real life in the movie and her real life.
Well, I was going to use the scene that really stood out to me was when they're shooting Double Bind in the pier scene where she's talking and then accidentally divulges real information and then they yell cut and they're like, wait, what? Where'd you come up with that one? Because she's talking about how she's having an identity crisis really in real life because she's hallucinating and seeing the pop star. I guess like the pop version of her is what I want to call it.
It's her idol self.
Who wants to take over her idol self. Who wants to take over and be her. She even says, you're dealing with this and I'm going to take over and I'm going to be the one in charge, not you, me.
I'm curious because watching this, I had a really hard time telling how much of that was real.
Oh, I did too.
and how much of that wasn't real, because especially with the ending where you find out that Rumi has been dressing up as hers, pretending to be her, and when she does it, Mima appears to see her as Mima.
Yes, Mima sees, but she sees her as the spirit manifestation version, because when Rumi is clumsily running across the rooftops chasing after her, the spirit version, or whatever you want to call it, of Mima is angelically gliding down with her umbrella, because that's what she's seeing. But in all actuality, it's, this grunting and running towards her.
Right.
And even with the very ending shot, which confused the fuck out of me, where she gets in the car and looks in the mirror and goes, how much of this was real? And then
That's Rumi's voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the part where I was like, huh?
So,
I kind of sat there and really thought about my life choices.
well, it begs the question of, is she the real Mima, or is this still a delusion?
Right. Did she ever actually get out of it? Because she hallucinates several times throughout the movie. And it starts with the fish. That's where it starts.
The fish being dead?
But they're not dead.
They are dead.
But they're not dead.
They're not dead in Rumi's room that's made up to be identical to her room, but in her room they're still dead.
Right. But they're not, because are they not? What's real? What's not real?
It's hard to say.
Even when she's... And I think the part where I was like, I can't believe they're really doing this with the parallels to Double Bind, is when she comes out and says the killer was a female who had split personalities and decided to discard those that she didn't need anymore. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah,
That's how they're going to do it. That's what they're going to do. And then sure enough, the next scene is her dressing up as a pizza delivery driver, stabbing the creepy sexual photographer dude. Kind of deserved it, but not the point.
But was that her or was that Rumi?
And see, that's the thing. Because it could have been Rumi who put the clothes, because she finds the clothes, but did she find the clothes?
Well, no, the bloody clothes that she found is from when she was holding the glass with Rumi in the room and she accidentally squeezes it. The bloody clothes she finds later are those clothes. They're the same clothes. Not necessarily because she didn't kill anybody, but they're the same pair of clothes that she was wearing when she broke the glass. That's where I assume the blood came from.
Okay, I took it as she was finding that and going, oh shit, this really was me.
So no, I think...
Which might have been the point.
Yes, I think that was the point, is that's what you're supposed... Or that's what she's supposed to think, because she isn't supposed to remember breaking the glass. But as us as the audience, I would imagine are supposed to notice that it's the same clothes.
Right.
I don't know for sure. That might have just been a random thing that I noticed, but I'm 100% confident it's the same pair of clothes.
And that's one of the things I like about this movie, is because it throws in those subtle little things.
Yeah.
But I had a really tough time differentiating between what was actually her, what was Mima, and what was Rumi. And I think this movie doesn't do it in a way that's bad. It gives you just enough. Like what you were saying, where it shows you the hand and says, here's what I'm playing with. But still at the end of it, you're thinking, really? Was that what they were doing? Did I misremember something? Were they not really going for that? Is this it? But not in like the Inception way, where the whole thing's fucking confusing.
Yeah, where it's unnecessarily convoluted.
This is slightly convoluted, but not in a lazy way.
Right. The way this is done is really well, because there is a little bit of things. There are unanswered questions, but you have enough answers to where the conclusions are given to you.
Right. You can draw the conclusions and go, oh, that's it. Got it. Cool. Instead of with Inception, where it's like, ah, fuck. But one thing I did want to highlight is that this movie came out in 97, right?
Right.
When did Black Swan come out?
The comparison between this movie and Black Swan, I can see it, but I think that Black Swan is an embarrassment compared to this movie, because while Natalie Portman's performance is really good, the overall movie is significantly worse, in my opinion, than Perfect Blue.
And that's originally why Monty wanted us to do this, because when he listened to the Requiem for a Dream episode, there is a shot for shot remake. The bathtub scene that I really enjoyed in Requiem actually comes from this movie.
I had no idea.
Had no idea either. But he sent that to me, and he's like, "Yeah, here, you should do this." And he really stole a lot from Perfect Blue and Black Swan. And I was like, okay, well, we got to do Black Swan because I've seen that, so we'll do Black Swan first. I'm glad we did that one first, because I think watching that made me go into Black Swan and actually give it like a really honest review. If I had watched this after and watched Black Swan after, Black Swan would have been garbage. Well, and I'm never doing Black Swan again. Like after watching Perfect Blue and seeing what it was trying to be, but it's slightly different. It was, let me copy your homework, but change some of the answers.
Oh yeah, it was that high school technique.
Yeah, that's what this was.
Which, like I said, I don't necessarily see that as much because of how poorly executed Black Swan is in comparison to me. Plus, the endings are very different, and the symbolism and like what Aronofsky was going for versus what
Saitoshi?
Satoshi Kon was going for are very drastically different.
No, and you're 100% correct, because what Satoshi was going for was smart.
I mean, that's fair. But the personas that everyone has that Satoshi shows in this movie is done so well, because there's also that parallel of people within Black Swan, but it doesn't feel as real, which is surprising since it's live action and this is animated. Mima's transition between pop idol to actress is so apparent, and the degradation of her psyche is shown even through her room, which is interesting because the website is called Mima's Room.
Mm-hmm.
And her room, like her real room, reflects her psyche, because at the beginning of the movie it's super neat and organized, and there are a few times where she like freaks out and like messes it up, but it never gets clean after that. It just gets progressively worse and worse as her psyche gets more and more shredded.
When she's trying to battle between, do I want to be a pop star? Do I want to be an actress?
Well, no,
what do I want to be?
She
Who
wants
is
to
me.
She wants to be an actress. She's being, based on my perspective, she wants to be an actress, and the reason that she's going through this in such a traumatic way is partially because she didn't actually want to do like the rape scene at the strip club, but it's also because Rumi is gaslighting her. Rumi is very, very manipulative and saying, oh, you're tarnished and you're this and that. And the way she's posting on Mimi's Room, her quote-unquote diary entries, further drives the actual Mima character into psychosis, because she thinks her fans hate her. She thinks that everyone's mad at her. And she has Rumi, one of her good friends, one of her producers or agents or whatever, actively gaslighting her, trying to make her think that A, she's going crazy, and B, she's making the wrong decision.
Which causes her to have a mental breakdown. But I think really the point that started it was the strip club rape scene, because there's this whole thing that's about that where, no, you shouldn't do it. It's going to tarnish her image, which I think Rumi even suggests something about that.
I'm pretty sure Rumi's the first person to say it.
Where she's like, yeah, this isn't going to look good.
Yeah.
Because she was a pop idol. It's like, there's transitions all the time. It'll be fine. Would be the case with like Lindsay Lohan, Amanda Bynes. Those are real life examples.
Britney Spears.
Miley Cyrus.
Mm-hmm.
Going from one extreme to another. And she definitely goes to the extreme because she agrees to do that to get more lines essentially in the show and become a more prominent character. And it does boost her towards more of that main character stardom. She becomes the killer, right?
Yeah.
That's the big reveal. And I think without that, it wouldn't have happened. But she did not want to do it. She was against it. And then there were the nude photos that were taken after that, because they're like, oh yeah, she's kind of hot. Wonder what she would look like naked. And I know that she was struggling with that one, because she even has flashbacks of taking the pictures, and you know that she didn't really want to do it, but here it is, and it's kind of propelling her more towards the actress side of things, I guess. and having her shred her pop idol ties.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like how Disney. Real life example of that would be like what Disney does. I want you to keep that squeaky clean pop star image, and then once you break out of that, you go down the same path as like all the childhood stars,
Pretty much.
or you're Orlando Bloom doing meth. But no, I'm glad you brought up the room degradation thing, because that was one of the really cool aspects that I liked about it. And even with it being an anime, you can still it's still good. It's one of the good shots, seeing the clutter and the filth that accumulates from this pristine. Oh, that's great, like you said too. Why does her shower have so much stuff in it?
Exactly.
You know, the more I talk about this, the more I think I should have just paid the $10.99 and bought the movie.
I wish I had bought it.
Like, I think, yeah, I rented it for $2.99, but I think I might go back and buy it.
I'm sure that I'm probably going to just wait and go to like Vintage Stock or something like that and see if I can find like a physical copy or a DVD.
I do like physical copies.
Yeah.
No, this movie's exceeded my expectations, and I do want to talk about the ending though, because that ending goes crazy.
Okay, hit me with it.
Where it's revealed that Rumi is the one who is actually behind everything. The way that it does this, in my mind, was great, because she sees herself, and then a little bit of reality blends in there, and you see that it's actually Rumi dressed up as her, where she's modeling her new outfit, saying this is going to look good, and then it slips, and suddenly it's not her, it's Rumi dressed up as her, looking fucking psychotic.
Oh, yeah.
And then she's telling her, what's his name? The username for the guy.
Oh, it's Memamania.
Memamania. I don't know why I can't remember that.
No, I don't know either.
I don't know either. I've been struggling with it the whole fucking episode. I can remember everybody else's name but Memamania.
Yeah, it's not Mimi, bro.
Fuck. I'm never gonna get this dude's name right.
Memamania.
Anyway, that she got him to try to kill her, try to stab her multiple times, because he feels the same as she did. She's ruined her reputation. She's become something she's not. She's broken the image, I guess, like the fantasy that he's constructed in his head of what she should be, which I feel like we do that with celebrities a lot.
No, definitely. Because no celebrity is who they are on screen. Everyone has their private life and is someone else behind closed doors, but you have people play iconic roles in every single movie they're in. They play, a similar character. Then you can assume, oh, this person is always a good guy.
I'm going to use John Cena as the reference, right? Because everybody knows John Cena, and John Cena has like the most Make-A-Wish Foundation kids.
I've never seen him.
I hate you so much. But John Cena came, and it's really funny because when you look at the WWE, John Cena came in as, the Thugonomics guy. He had the FU and the STFU, and then somehow became the poster boy for the WWE, and became this like golden child doing the most Make-A-Wish Foundation thing. So it was kind of like, oh, he was just playing a character, like this is really who he is. Come to find out, this dude fucks so much. He's kind of a dickhead outside of it. Really got into it with Batista, because he became the person who was doing the movies when Batista was the one who really wanted to do it. And he's like, fuck you, this is my thing now, bitch. And it's just like he's a dickhead. And the whole veil drops and you realize, oh, John Cena's kind of an asshole.
See, I don't have any information on any of that. If you're listening to this, John Cena, I don't necessarily think you're an asshole. I don't know you well enough to have an opinion.
You just don't want John Cena to hate you.
I don't want him to whoop my ass, bro. Have you seen how big he is?
No, he's fucking huge. But it's the same thing with Memamania, Mima, and Rumi. Because there's even the point where he's trying to like assault and kill her. He's screaming, you're not the real Mima.
The real Mima emails me.
Which is proven false. And she says, I am the real Mima. This is really me. And he still kind of goes for it. And it's that wanting to preserve something taken to the extreme with Rumi, because her intentions were kind of pure in a way. If you really think about it, in her mind, she wanted what was best for her. She just went fucking batshit crazy on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Listen, dog, a lot of great villains in history thought they were doing the right thing. That doesn't mean they weren't still villains.
No, she's 100% a villain because she tries to kill her at the end. No doubt about it. In person because Mima Mania failed.
Oh yeah, she sent an assassin.
Yeah, she sent an assassin, and then when he couldn't get the job done, she's like, I'm going to ice pick you. But that reveal of them being, or her being the same person, and then the way that she's saying it was really cool. The chase scenes and everything were really cool. And it was interesting, to say the least, when the car, or the truck or whatever, comes in the road, and she sees it as like the spotlights, and she has finally achieved the stardom that she wanted, that she's been viewing through Mima's eyes, living vicariously through Mima. And once she has achieved that spotlight and is on stage, it ends up actually being a truck. And then Mima saves her.
Yeah. Which I didn't think Mima was going to do.
I didn't think she was going to do it either.
Like, that caught me off guard, because had I been Mima, I would have been like, oh, this lady was trying to kill me. She gets hit by a truck. I don't have to worry about someone trying to kill me anymore.
Well, yeah, and then her psychosis is she's so delusional that when Mima rips off her wig, she impales herself on a glass shard in order to put the wig back on.
Yep, not even paying attention to the pane of glass that's been shattered. She's just like, herp derp, I don't have my wig on.
Because she's so transfixed on it. And I'm like, why would you do that? But thinking logically about it, oh, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah,
And you're obsessed.
You're having a psychotic episode.
And in that moment, the only thing that you care about is preserving your identity, which is through the wig being Mima. Because without the wig on, you're not Mima.
Yeah.
Am I wrong, though?
No, I just have mean comments that I'm not going to make.
That's fair. I'm glad you're not making the mean comments. But no, the ending kind of really went off the rails, which wasn't a bad thing. It just kind of came out of nowhere.
No, it came out of nowhere, but it made so much sense. And the fact that, especially on a rewatch, because like I said, I watched this twice, rewatching it, knowing what the ending is, every single line of dialogue is so much more impactful.
Can you see it? Can you see what she's doing?
Not necessarily, but there are twinges of crazy in Rumi. Like, even before, in some of the earliest scenes with Rumi, after knowing what you know, you're like, oh, checks out. Because, I don't know if you know this, I don't know if you caught this, Rumi's the one who brings the letter bomb. The letter bomb is Rumi's letter bomb.
No, I knew that she was the one after the fact that it was revealed.
Even watching it, after knowing, it appears that it was probably from Rumi. Just like when Rumi is giving her the information about Mima's room, after knowing the way she's talking about it, it's super apparent that she's the one behind it. I don't know. I don't know if it's actually the case or if that's just how I perceived it because I already knew, but I feel like it's obvious on the second view.
Well, I mean, Rumi's the one that sends her the fax too.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I didn't notice anything weird about the facts that made it clear that it was Rumi doing it, or Rumi's doings.
It would just be whoever has her fax number.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how
anyone else could get it.
Right. But at the time it was like, oh, fuck, that's just a crazy fan.
Yeah.
Because it came after she was looking up Mima's room. Mima's room.
Yes.
I have a really tough time pronouncing that. But yeah, Mima's room when she's looking it up, and then the fax comes saying, you know, traitor.
You gonna make it, bud?
Yeah, sometimes I burp, and I don't want to burp into the mic.
No, I saw what you're stepping in.
But I'm glad that you watched it a second time, so you can come at it with, yeah, when you watch it a second time, this is what's apparent.
Well, when I watched it the second time, there was so much, I don't want to say symbolism, because I don't know if it's necessarily symbolism, but there are so many thematic points about identity and who am I and who are you that are asked during the first one, but during the second viewing, you're just like, oh. And Double Bind, the parallels between it and what's actually happening in reality are so close, but so far off. Because I don't think that Meme is crazy. Even in reality, where she was hallucinating, I think she was under duress because, she went through a major life change, changing careers, which anyone who's ever changed careers and had a major life change, it puts you in duress. Even if you're not stressed, you're stressed. You know what I mean?
Right, because it's a whole different industry. She goes from singing on stage to repeatedly doing the same thing over and over again. Instead of memorizing the lyrics, you're memorizing lines. People are watching, saying that's not good enough.
Right. And I don't think that she was ever crazy. Like, I think that she might have had a temporary psychosis or a temporary mental issue, but I think that it's 100% stress related from switching jobs and gaslighting from Rumi.
And I'm glad that you brought that up because I think, knowing what I know and knowing the ending, I don't believe she's crazy. I think that it was 100% gaslighting. I do agree with your statement of she was under duress because it was such a huge transition. She had done things before, but never wanted to fully commit to it. And you could tell that she was really upset whenever she was leaving because at the beginning of the movie, it takes her forever. She's not even the one that announced it. She doesn't even announce that she's leaving the band.
Yeah, it has to be one of her co-performers.
Her backup singers, basically.
Well, see, I don't know if you can call them backup singers because after she leaves Chan, they get more successful.
Yeah, they get way more successful. They start a podcast. Or radio show is what it would be. But it's basically a podcast.
I thought it was a podcast. When I saw it, I was like, that's like me and Taylor.
That's like what we do. We're reviewing a podcast movie.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, they infinitely get more successful.
Speaking of podcast movies, off subject, do you want to do Tusk next week?
We'll talk about that later.
I'm sorry, continue.
But it's even more apparent because I feel like she regretted her decision when she walks into the studio and hallucinates herself as the third member. You remember that scene? And she hallucinates herself as a third member sitting in there talking to them about whatever it is they're talking about because I can't remember.
Yeah.
But she's, signing off saying bye, wanting to be a part of that again. But not wanting to be a part of it because she thinks that she wants to be a part of it, but she's just been gaslit into thinking that.
Right, which it's very possible that she didn't actually want to switch to be an actress and that she was manipulated by the other manager. Because there's a line at the beginning of the movie when she's on stage right after they announce that she's moving to acting from being a pop idol.
Mm-hmm.
One of the fans is like, oh, I bet it was her manager's doing because that's a way more lucrative trade.
Oh, yeah. That's at the very beginning when they're in the street, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just a one line and...
little throwaway.
Is it though? Because there are so many lines in this that feel like they could be throwaways, but also seem like they could be a deeper meaning. And if that is the case, if she was actually manipulated by her other manager into being an actress, then that just makes the question of who is she and what's up with her identity even more relevant. Because does she want to do that? Because I think she does. Watching it, I think she does, other than specific scenes like the rape and stuff. But overall, I think she does want to be an actress. But because of the way the movie was shot and because of the lines in the movie, we don't definitively know that. We can just assume.
And that's the pure speculation is what this movie is.
And I love it.
And I love it too because it's open to having those discussions about does she really want to do it? Because I'm in agreement with you. I think that she really does. I do agree that there are things that she doesn't want to do, like the rape scene and the photos. I don't think that she wanted to be sexualized.
Right.
But I mean, that could also be a commentary on how the entertainment industry is for women.
I think it is because Rumi was also in the idol, entertainment industry, and she's lost her mind, presumably because, and this isn't my opinion, this is research I did. So apparently in the 90s in Japan, weight was a big deal. It might still be,
Yeah, no, now that you bring up that point, yeah, she's the only overweight one.
Which, like I said, I'm not bringing it up to be offensive. I'm not trying to be offensive, but it mentions her historically being a pop idol, and she's not anymore, and she's in a manager, and she's a very controlling, possessive manager, to me, in my opinion, based on my perspective of watching the movie. So it could even be that how once women lose their beauty, they, fall from this prominent role, and in Rumi's case, develop psychosis.
And the disassociative
Exactly.
aspect of it, trying to be like, oh, it would be equivalent to the mother in Black Swan.
No, 100% Rumi is the mother in Black Swan. In the event,
The Black Swan was a good movie.
yeah, which it isn't. And
In the event that was good. Yeah, but no, Rumi is the overprotective, overbearing character that is living vicariously through her, literally and figuratively, by wanting her to be the pop idol. And I think that she enjoys the pop aspect of it. I don't think that she would mind going back to it, but her real passion is acting, and it's something I think, well, I don't even know if that's actually her real passion. I think that she just wants to do something new. Because it does does a throwaway line of, why would I want to listen to a no name? And I think that she wants the fame and wants the notoriety, but can't get that with being a pop idol. It's a very niche crowd. But if she's on a successful drama thriller where millions of people are watching it, that'll boost her up, even if it's a small 3 shots, like 3 scenes, that's it. But then there's the entertainment aspect of when a woman reveals her body, it obviously makes her super, super successful, right? Don't give a shit about your acting. Show me your tits.
But that's one of the complaints that a lot of the actresses in Game of Thrones had.
No, and I'm glad that you brought. If you weren't going to bring that up, I was going to bring that up. Which I think we've had this discussion.
I don't know if we have on the pod, but yeah, they were overly sexualized, and the individual characters were not stoked about it, and they shouldn't be stoked about it because they're good actresses or good actors or whatever, and they add value beyond being extremely attractive.
Like Emilia Clarke.
Yeah.
Right. I think Emilia Clarke is very talented. I've seen her do other things, and it was very awkward watching her get out of Game of Thrones because I feel like when she got out of that, she didn't really know where to go with it and what roles to do. And the first few seasons of Game of Thrones really don't do anything with her character except for make her naked for whatever reason.
Quote unquote entertainment.
Which there's only one nudity scene that she did that I'm like, okay, I get why she had to be naked for this one, and that's when she comes out of the fire as like the mother of dragons.
Yeah.
I was like, get why you had to be naked for that one. You don't really understand the others.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm not trying to paint this like I don't like nudity because I'm not opposed to nudity in films if everyone's like stoked about it and wants to do it. But if
does it drive the plot forward?
It doesn't even necessarily have to drive the plot forward. Like for me.
Yeah.
Unless whoever's involved expresses unhappiness with it. And that's why Game of Thrones bothers me, because the individuals involved expressed that they didn't like being sexualized to that extreme.
Which would be, I'm gonna mess the name up. Mima.
Yes.
Had to really think about that one because I was like, gonna say Mimi.
Yeah, yes, that's Mima in this movie. She didn't mind being sexualized a little bit, I don't think, but she was extremely sexualized during, the rape scene and during the photos where she was initially under the impression they were just going to be photos. She didn't know she was going to get nude until she was there.
Right. They were going to be it was a regular photo shoot.
Right. And to me, like, that's overstepping.
No, it's 100% overstepping. The whole thing was overstepping because she was under the impression that it was a normal photo shoot, and then it turned out to, because they take normal photos, and then once you watch it, it slowly progresses to her having less and less clothing, and then going from positions of covering herself to where you can't see anything to, laying out sprawled full frontal nudity.
But it's animated. I'm just throwing that out there.
but it's animated.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just throwing out there for anyone who hasn't seen it. It is animated, so while there is full frontal nudity, it's not super graphic because it's animated.
Right. It doesn't matter.
No, it literally doesn't matter. I'm just throwing that out there for anyone who hasn't seen it, so they're, tracking.
Yeah, it's an animated film. This is not the live adaptation. The live adaptation would be the Requiem for a Dream, Jennifer Connelly scene where you get that full frontal nudity. That would be it.
Yeah, kinda,
Yeah.
actually.
Drawing parallels, he sees full frontal nudity in Perfect Blue, and it's like, what if I can just recreate that one? Yeah, nudity in movies is okay if everybody's on board with it.
Yeah, that's my position.
God, I love this movie.
I thought this movie was done super well.
Yeah, thank you, Monty, for recommending this movie to us. It is definitely a million times better than Ari Aster's.
It's better than Black Swan for sure.
Yeah, I'm not even going to say his name. I'm not even going to give him credit because apparently he didn't give Satoshi credit for this at all. It was one of those things where he bought the rights to a live adaptation to use the bathtub scene in Requiem. And then came out in 2010 and was like, wrote a movie. It's kind of like that, kind of not. But he never gave him credit, and from my understanding, Satoshi didn't like him, absolutely hated him because he never gave him credit for it. And he was a big time Hollywood person who was able to do whatever they wanted on a budget because people would give him money. And Satoshi had the issue of nobody really wanted to kind of fund him, so that's why you have the lower budget animation styles. So he was mad at him.
I feel that. That being said, I think the quote unquote low budget animation style, I think it helped this movie.
No, I agree. I think that because you talked about it not being
overly stylized,
which if he had a bigger budget, I think that probably would have happened.
And I mean, I don't know that it would have. This could have 100% been his vision, but my fear is that if it was overly stylized, it would lose the realism that makes it impactful.
I'm trying to see if I can find the budget. Oh, yeah, it was 3 million yen was estimated. And opening weekend, it got $9,600 US and grossed $558,598 in the US and $563,130 worldwide. So over $1 million worldwide. So now the question is, how much is 3 million yen in 1997? Wow, their inflation's not very much. Okay. So how much? So it's a little. The value of a yen was 100, and now today it's 105.92. That's pretty fucking great.
I mean, a 5% increase in 26 years now. That's not bad at all.
So 1 yen. Oh dear lord, 1 Japanese yen in US dollars is 0.0077.
So what's 3 million yen in US dollars?
$23,127.
That is extremely cheap.
That is how much, and it in US dollars worldwide was $1 million.
That's pretty successful.
That's super fucking successful because the movie's good.
The movie is so good.
Yeah, no, it really is. We can't stress this enough. Thank you, Monty. Seriously, if you haven't seen this movie, highly recommend going out and watching it, even if you're not a fan of anime. Seriously, give it a shot.
Yeah, I would not categorize myself as a fan of anime, and I really enjoyed this movie.
I would categorize myself as a fan of very, 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 very few select animes, so not really. And I love this movie because it's that artsy, pretentious bullshit. So with that being said, what you got for the Bailey's Babbles?
So, have you heard of Eratus?
Ebritus, the daughter of Cosmos?
No. Although that boss made me want to uninstall.
Oh, Eratus is the Pokemon from Gen 7, right?
No.
Gen 8? It was,
No.
the legendary, the poison dragon.
No.
No? Oh. Maybe I haven't then.
So, Eratus is an internet mystery that started on November 26th of 2015 as a 4chan post. And essentially what the 4chan post was someone indicating that they were working in a warehouse and everyone was leaving and the atmosphere was super miserable, and they were filing papers with a file thing that they were given, and it had the word Eratus on it, and one of their coworkers saw them with it, and he was an HR programmer, and he indicated that they need to get rid of it because it's dangerous to have. And basically the way he described it was an HR program that collected information, and anytime someone searched for it within their systems, they were immediately flagged and fired.
It was an algorithm.
So this was believed to be like a really big, like, real thing. Like if you type Eratus in on Google, you become a quote unquote targeted person and you're being tracked and this and that.
Well, even to this day, if you Google it, the things that'll pop up are like for the actual titles of articles and stuff are the word you never want to Google.
Yeah, it allegedly made a few YouTubers disappear.
There's a lot of negative connotations around this phrase.
Absolutely.
It's actually even misspelled. One thing that I found was it is spelled with one R instead of two to kind of like hide the fact, because people believed that it was an algorithm that was going to collect information and stuff. So in order to get past it, you would put one R instead of two.
Exactly. So a lot of people were trying to do research on it, trying to figure out where it was or if it was even a real program. And one of the prominent individuals behind it was Cronus for Life Jurassic Park was their YouTube name. And they were a YouTuber, and they released a lot of videos indicating that Universal and YouTube was spying on them and their mom before their mom passed away.
This was like 2015, by the way.
Yeah, 2015, 2016. So right around the time that the newest, or not the newest, but was it New World, the Jurassic Park movie that released in 2016?
I'll look
or
it
Lost
up.
World?
I think it was Lost World, but let me look it up just to confirm. We're not Jurassic Park fans.
I mean, I don't dislike Jurassic Park. It's just not something that I specifically researched before doing this. But so this person's Cronus for Life's mom allegedly cracked a code in the original Jurassic Park trilogy, and because of Eratus, they were being tracked and their videos were being taken down. It's likely that this was just happening because of the YouTube algorithm.
It was Jurassic World.
Jurassic World? What did I say?
With my boy Chris Pratt.
Oh, yeah. But Cronus for Life, Jurassic Park released many videos, and they thought they were a targeted person by the Eratus system. And they thought it was because they figured out some secret code in Jurassic Park, which was never, it was never known to anybody.
And he even came out and said, I sound crazy, but I'm not. I've never been diagnosed with schizophrenia, any anxiety disorders, blah, blah, blah. This is really happening.
Exactly. That was in Cronus for Life's post. And people just kept doing research, and then eventually they started finding music for a band called KFC Murder Chicks. And there was links based on the address.
But wasn't it in the subtitles? Because the subtitles of his videos were wrong.
It was subtitles in one of Cronus for Life's video that said it. And it made people look up KFC Murder Chicks, and it was this, unknown band from Kentucky. And folks were under the impression that they were behind it. So they started researching them and looking into them, and there was a bunch of posts on 4chan in the paranormal tab and in the music tab about it, because KFC Murder Chicks a band. And this went on for a couple of years, where people were under the impression that this algorithm was real, and there were YouTubers disappearing over it. They would post a video about it and then just never post a video again. And after a while, the individual behind this came out and said, his name is DJ Roswell, and he created it, and he created KFC Murder Chicks, and he's behind all of it. And he came out and said that Eratus was supposed to be an ARG, and it was the main project. However, I'm behind all of it, and KFC Murder Chicks was also a part of it, but I'm canceling the ARG. We're not doing anything with Herodotus anymore. So it was literally a hoax. It was a hoax that so many people believed and researched for years.
And I think that a lot of people were under the impression that he did it just to boost his record sales.
That is
So-
100% why he did it.
Which it started out as that one, and the people are like, oh, you really did just do that and made us look all this shit up, and people were disappearing, really went down the rabbit hole. Also, you could sell fucking records.
And I don't know, I just thought it was interesting. When I saw that the movie we were doing, Perfect Blue, was about a pop idol,
Mm-hmm.
I was under the impression that Herodotus, being used to sell records for KFC Murder Chicks, I was like, oh, I could make a connection between the two. But that was before I watched the movie and realized that my assumption of what the movie would be was very wrong.
You were wrong.
I
buddy.
was wrong.
I mean, we can do like internet mysteries though. There are time. 4chan is the breeding ground for a lot of shit.
Absolutely. Well, I just figured we could do Herodotus because it's an interesting one and it's one that has a conclusion so that, we don't start putting ideas into folks' heads and then have to end it with, don't Google it or else you could, disappear.
You'll disappear too if you Google Herodotus.
You'll float too.
Well, no, and it has an ending like not unlike Cicada 3301.
What?
Yeah, Cicada 3301. You ever heard about that one?
I'm not entirely sure.
Oh man. So I love internet mysteries, and a lot of shit happens on fucking 4chan.
Naturally.
But basically what happened is on one of the message boards in the Be Random, which if you've never been on 4chan, there's a lot of shit that happens on 4chan. It's anonymous, so because anonymity is a big thing, there have been like actual murders and shit that have popped up on there. Like, and if you go to the B section, the /B, which is just the random one, basically 4chan was Reddit before Reddit. And when you go to the B one, there's basically a bunch of porn. I would say like 80% of it's porn. And then if you scroll through it, you'll find other shit. One of the things that popped up one day, and I can't remember the exact year because this just reminded me of it, was this message that said, in this message, we are seeking highly intelligent individuals. In this message is a hidden code. It'll start you on a puzzle, Cicada 3301. And someone cracked it because eventually what happened was they came out and said, we have found what we are looking for. Until next time, thank you. And that was it. Never came under, like, a lot of people were like, oh, it's the CIA. It was the British military or whatever that's going for it. And it wasn't easy shit. Like, you had to do a bunch of things that I can't explain because I don't understand how to do it. But basically, like, re-render the image. And then there was a picture of a duck that was hidden in the text by doing all this. Like, it was computer programming shit. And that's why they were like, oh, the CIA wants cybersecurity people and why. And then what happened is like a year later, they came back and they said, we're hosting another one looking for a lot of interested or a lot of highly intelligent people. And then they did the same thing. And then it became like the scavenger hunt. So people were trying to figure it out. And after I think like a month or two, they came on, said they found what they're looking for, disappeared. Nobody knew what was happening. Could have just been some dude sitting in his basement fucking around. But what had happened was the third one led them on like a scavenger hunt, and there were it was telephone poles that had pieces of paper with QR codes that had a cicada on it that were scattered around major cities. And there was one in like fucking Denver and Los Angeles and then Moscow, and you could go to them and scan them. But what ended up happening was people were sharing, and you can find like how people did it. Like, there are videos where people go through and explain how to solve the puzzles. And I guess what had happened is this third time, too many people were revealing the answers. So whoever was behind it got mad, basically said they were canceling it, pulled out, and have not been heard from since. But it's kind of one of those things where, who was really behind it? Was it just a hoax? Were people actually trying to recruit intelligent people? Was it just a programming thing for cybersecurity? Was the CIA testing you? MK Ultra bullshit, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, Cicada 3301 is one of the interesting ones that has no resolution because nobody knows to this day. But yeah, 4chan. If you've never been on 4chan, it's a fun time. That's what I did in my youth.
So I'm not going to get super into it, but the flyers and stuff remind me of the Happy Valley Dream Survey.
Oh.
And I think we should end on that. Anyone who's curious, you can look up the Happy Valley Dream Survey. You don't have to worry. It's nothing spooky. No one's out to get you probably. But
we'll probably talk about it on the next one.
we might do that.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll just do like conspiracy theories.
I mean, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's just an internet mystery.
Nah, internet mysteries are fucking great. Love them.
I do too. But thank you, Monty. Perfect Blue was amazing. I'm really stoked we watched it. Do you have anything else? I really wasn't trying to like cut it off. I just don't have enough research for the Happy Valley Dream Survey to actually talk about it.
Oh man, you gotta cut that now. Don't let people don't take the curtain down. All right, keep that on.
Oh, you want us to continue portraying our personas?
Yeah, continue the mystery like we're more intelligent than we actually are. But no, thank you, Monty. This is one movie that I really enjoy. If you have any more recommendations, I will be super interested in listening to those. Again, if you haven't seen this movie, take a step out of your comfort zone, watch it, be happy,
be healthy,
do all three, get Jack, Juicy, and Tan.
Oh yeah, that's what Taylor's doing.
Oh yeah, gym membership. Well, with that being said, this has been Two Idiots, One Podcast. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Bailey.
Thank you for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.